Good morning and welcome to Competitive Advantage, where Noah is missing once again. He's been going 150 miles an hour for the past few weeks, so we're just going to forgive him. I have spent a gazillion minutes trying to make my sound better. I hope that it is. Please let me know if I'm still much quieter than Noah. That was never the goal, and I didn't know it was happening until this last week. So I put effort into that. I don't know if it's working. I hope people will let me know. What we're going to do is we're just going to roll forward without Mr. Noah. He says, I am on my way. I'm single dadding. Yeah, that's fine. That is a thing that many of us, not all of us, many of us can relate to. I don't think you're getting my audio. I really don't. So I'm going to fix that, and we're going to go from there. Yeah, how am I going to do this? This is the best part. I'm making like just dead air. It's so good. All right, let's see if we can make this happen here. Fixing the audio. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, it's not working. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, I guess this is what we're doing here. All right. One more time with feeling, right, folks? So, welcome to Competitive Advantage. Hopefully you can hear me now. I don't know if you could hear me before. I don't know if you can hear me now. There's no one here to tell me. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hope for the best. It is not great that I woke up and the technology is not working, but we are going to get rolling with the show nonetheless. I am going to do one more thing to try to fix it. And yeah. Okay, so we are going to talk about, oh, hey, Dinosaur, I really need to know if you can hear me and how loud it is. So, welcome everybody to the morning. Our big topic for today is, of course, that nights are back in full, unmitigated, unbridled, raw awfulness. I'm going to be very careful about how I talk about that because it's well known that I hate nights. I don't really hate nights, but anyways, I'm going to share my complex and deep and emotional feelings about the night meta. Noah and I are now 3 weeks away from the Tacoma Open, I think. Maybe it's 4. I'm likely going, so that's an exciting difference. That's an exciting thing that's changed in the past week. And Noah's going to be here in just a moment for those that are wondering where the heck Noah is. So that meta is going to be weird. And I want to talk through that with Noah. Like, how's Noah preparing? What's he going to do? I'm not going to talk specifically about how my list works, and I'll explain why. But I know I'm taking Eldar. It's my love. It's my life. It's my passion. The pointy ear dudes running around. I have some criticisms of where Eldar are at in the meta right now that we'll talk about. But in general, I'm pretty excited to be back playing Eldar again after my brief dalliance with Chaos. Gotta have a little bit of a skip out. Yeah, Eldar and Dom says Eldar are fun, actually fun. Yes, they are. They really are. I'll talk about my big concerns with them, but the summary of that is the level of uncompromising. No, that's not the right word. The level of raw there's no net. You might make a mistake and the whole thing, wheels might come off, everything might fall apart. That's very much Eldar right now. So we'll talk about that. Hey, Noah's here, everybody.
Sorry, I'm the single dad this morning.
You're what?
I'm the single dad this morning, so things got away with me today.
Fair enough. Well, now we need to know from people that are in the comments if they can hear us and if our volume is the same, because I spent a bunch of time this morning trying to make it work, and I don't know if I did. So that's what's happening with the incredibly professional show.
Sorry.
Noah, yes, it's wonderful. In fact, these aren't even where my audio is coming from. There's all types of things happening. So
but I can hear myself again.
Oh, well, see, that's the problem right there. Let me fix that. That's your problem right there.
Yeah. All right.
New person has a slight echo. You're new person.
Yeah, I'm Noah. Nice to meet you. The echo will go away when
Done.
Hey, Colin did it.
Yep.
Congratulations, Colin.
No big deal. Okay. This is great because I'm using my laptop's microphone because I couldn't make the good microphone work. But because I needed headphones to work and they're 1/8 inch and it's a laptop, so obviously 1/8 inch audio is not going to work. I have a massive soundboard that the out is going through. So I'm listening to the audio through this giant expensive soundboard here that I have said, you are not working, screw you, for audio out. And I'm just using my laptop's microphone. So I'm having that sort of morning, Noah.
I kind of am too.
I woke up, my alarm went off at 6:30. Usually it's earlier if I think there's going to be new content to read, but I didn't think there was going to be, and I was not surprised. So I woke up at 6:30 and I had a 5-minute period of time where I thought, this is terrible. Why do I do this? I should cancel. Like there was a solid 5 minutes where I'm in the restroom and everything in the world is upon me and I'm like crushing down. Okay, this sucks. I'm getting shorter. Excuse me. But I quickly realized that 40K is fun and that Noah is fun and that it's going to be great. And I went and got online and Noah, of course, was not here. But that's okay. Because between Noah and I, we're going 150 miles an hour on average on any particular day.
This is true. 100%. It's been wild. Right now, things are really good right now for me, but they're good, but like I'm going that 150 miles on like a unicycle with like a bunch of things balanced on my hands, but everything balanced on my hands is good and where I'm going is good and the unicycle is very comfortable. But if I like wiggle too much, I die. That's where I'm at right now. I'm like, well, working on the new job. I'm trying to finish this night commission so I can finally have it off of my plate. My wife's on a trip, so I'm doing the single dad thing. I would like to play and do good at Tacoma Open, so I'm also trying to like balance what I'm going to figure out what I'm going to take, and trying to figure out a way to, with this also very long work day I'm having every day, try to get any amount of TTS in. It's being a challenge.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I am in a situation where I've been unemployed too long and I have to sell my house. That's what's up. I'm getting divorced. I've talked about that. We very much would like to stop living together. We think that would be great at this point. Once the decision was made to get divorced, it's kind of like, why do we still live together? We're getting along great. We're going to be good co-parents going forward. We still think each other's funny and enjoy spending time together, but it's over, and we both know it. So I'm at a weird place, and the thing I really want to do is make content. I don't know if that's going to be real, but at the moment it's very difficult to focus on that because the stress and difficulties of that combined with kid and major car accident that he's fine, but there's a lot to deal with there and everything else moving. So it's a stressful time for Colin. However, Colin is excited about 40K. So that's a good thing. several times this last week I said, things are stressful. I'm going to go find someone to play a 4-hour game of 40K against. Hey, look, I didn't think about real life for 4 hours. That was great. So that was my week. I didn't get to go anywhere, but I got to play a bunch of 40K. And then on Monday, I got to have 3 friends out for what I called the 2x2. You're very familiar.
I am.
Basically, I invite 3 other people out, and then I pair us up into 2 rounds. So you play like a 2-round RTT. You know the people are going to be awesome, and you know that the game's going to be helpful because that's who I invite. So I had my buddy Josh over with Death Guard. I had Guy was here with Necrons. However, I think he actually wanted to play his Reaper's Wager list, which he brought with him. Like, he brought both armies, and he's like, I'll play either one. But then I started playing with him. I thought, oh, you had a preference, and you didn't say it loud enough. But it was fun nonetheless. I got to play against his Star Shatter. I haven't played against Star Shatter recently. Had you, Noah?
I played against it a few times, and it's really popular right now amongst the people I would consider like the very good Necron players are playing. Other people are playing other whatever, but I think the best Necron players I know are either playing that, or there's one of the best Necron player in Canada is playing Obeisance Phalanx.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's like it's his own special little brew. They get like an Oath of Moment that's like plus to wound.
Oh, okay. Well, I was impressed with the Star Shatter list. When I played Star Shatter before, it was all vehicle spam.
Yeah, it's more like a melee list now.
This had the Wraith unit that kind of regenerates and moves on and off with the reactive move, moves on and off objectives. That was really good. I was super impressed by that unit. After disrespecting the 20-man Necron warrior unit for so long, I thought it was interesting to see something do that job only well. So, yeah, I thought that was neat to play against. I got to play against the stupid tunnel Tyranid thing again. I played against GSC. Anyways, I played a bunch of games this week. I have big thoughts on Eldar. Big thoughts. I also have big thoughts on Knights.
Oh yeah. A lot of people have big thoughts on Knights right now.
Yeah. I have T11 28 wound thoughts. That's how much thoughts I have. So yeah, we've talked about what we're doing for 40K right now. Should we get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to start with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then, which is probably where Knight conversation will end up, but the main topic for today is Knights and preparing for the Tacoma Open. So after the good, bad, and the ugly, we'll cover any of that we have missed.
I have lots of opinions about Knights.
Yeah, me too. The good.
The good is that some things that aren't Knights are winning, which is cool.
Yeah, that's true.
There's some very interesting things, like a Dark Angels bike list won an event.
Yeah, I saw that. But the new detachment, right?
Yeah.
Or is it that the new detachment's terrible? I read this yesterday. Now I can't remember.
No, the Wrath of the Rock is doing okay.
Okay.
And then Death Guard is still good, but it's being kept in check by a couple other established, like, emerging builds. So it's still like a overly high win percentage. When we say overly high win percentage, we're talking like for Knights and Death Guard, we're talking like 55 to like 61. We're not like talking like Eldar, which was like pre-nerf Eldar at the beginning of the edition was like 80. Right.
I think it was 67 was where it got to, but yeah.
I think it's not got in the 70s, but we've had 70s win rates before in this edition. And as things have gone on, the codexes have gotten to a point where like they come out and they're strong, but they're not as broken as they have as previous dexes have been. Which I think is like okay, because even if these are like unbalanced, really doing like too good lists or whole factions, they're not the only things winning.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the good for me. There's lots of other stuff doing good stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I did see that World Eaters won a GT. I like that. That made me happy.
World Eaters is good. If you're playing Chaos,
is it good?
You're probably doing okay.
I don't think it is.
I think
it's fine. Let me share my thought before you counter me.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I think it's absolutely fine. But I think that the Berserker Rush lists are easily countered by certain metas and certain players. And I think that the Corn Demonkin list is too fragile and difficult and falls apart if its strat gets nerfed. So I think that they're fine. I think that if you want to play World Eaters at a tournament, it's a completely viable option. But I will not put them in the great or awesome tier of whatever you want to do tiers. For me, they'd be like A minus.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, but like I think anything like in the top half of B or an A, I would call good. Right, I would say that is a good army. The bottom half of B, I would say, is probably good enough if you're a very good player and there's a very specific reasons you're playing it, right? And then I would say C for me starts where things are like, it's not great. Like it's okay. But like if you're a good player and you get a little bit lucky, you can win an event with World Eaters. If you're a good player and don't get lucky, you can go X and 1, X and 2 and do fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's fine. I think right now, if you pick up any Chaos Power Armor, you probably have a shot at winning the event if you're confident with them.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that that's right for World Eaters. Anywho, what else is good? The game feels fun. There aren't rules mechanics that are driving me insane. I noticed that this weekend. Even when playing against Death Guard, yeah, yes, they're unfair, but they're not doing things where I think, man, this is wildly unfair and there's nothing I can do about it. Like they're not, there's too many of them. They're too undercosted, right? They have exocrines for like 50 points cheaper than them. I think it's more than that. I think it's like 60 points cheaper than them. Better shooting exocrines, excuse me.
Yeah.
But the chaos, the Death Guard rules are wrong, but they don't beat you in the way that where I thought, oh wow, these triple soul bursting shining spears sure are a problem I don't know how to deal with. So, anywho,
so Dom, the Dom, whoever this person is awesome and very active, and I want to respond to them. Emperor's Children is good. It was busted on release, and it has been nerfed a little bit, but people are still winning with it. It is a high skill cap army, so you have to have a lot of reps and know the army very well, and you have to know how to play the game very good. Yeah, it's very high skill cap, so like it's kind of like the Eldar thing that was being said before. Right now, if you make a mistake, you probably just explode and die. But you can definitely win. John Lennon just won the largest event of the year so far, other than last season's LVO, and with Emperor's Children. Yeah. And they do have a little bit of war machines. They don't have any big, like super big things, but they have Mauler Fiends, which are like tanks with hands. they're tanks who like to cuddle.
Yeah, and they punch you with las cannons.
Yeah, and they have rhinos and land raiders and landers.
Everybody uses rhinos. Rhinos are all over the place, which makes me happy. I'm going to put that under good. Rhinos all over the place. Dudes, how about this? Here's a big good for me. Dudes and trucks all over the place. I love dudes and trucks. I'm doing wave serpents. There's dudes and rhinos all over the place. If you play against Drukari, I promise you they have dudes and trucks.
Where's my night transport?
No. How about one of those? Like how the Gorkanaut has the doors on the front of it? Only it's big enough for the Helverins to come out. There's baby knights inside of the knight. How about that?
I was gonna say, where's my transport knight then?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the good. I think we were kind of fishing a little bit for the good, but that's fine. The bad. I am not going to talk about knights in the bad. I think they belong in the ugly. Would you like to veto me and move them up to the bad?
No, I think
okay, so we'll wait. We're gonna wait for the ugly then.
My bad is that I think the current night situation could be so much worse. But because Warhammer players gravitate towards math rather than towards like skill expression. Yeah. There are some skill expression things in the nice codexes and like options with like what you take in both Chaos and Imperial Knights that are not being taken advantage of, in my opinion, that could make some of the games so much more demoralizing to play.
Mm-hmm.
So the bad for me with Knights is it's bad, but it could be so much worse. And I think it's only going to get worse before it gets better.
All right, we'll talk about it in the ugly then.
Oh, I have one more bad.
Well, I have bads. We haven't even started doing bads yet. You have
Oh,
one more bad.
I have a
Fine.
bad.
What's your bad?
I don't get to play Green Tide because right now, if I take Green Tide to Tacoma Open, one, there's no clocks enforced, so that sucks. But the actual worst thing is that everybody is coming loaded for bear, and one of the ways they're coming loaded for bear is by volume shots that just wound no matter what. So things like Botan are heavily hyped right now, and Thousand Suns, and I don't think Green Tide can beat Thousand Suns.
Oh my God, I think that sounds like a terrible 3 hours.
It's the worst.
Like they're just like, hey, my sorcerer does enough shooting by himself to kill a 20-man boy unit. It's fine. Yeah, so okay. I want to tell a story about playing your favorite army that goes in the bad. So I've been playing Eldar, and it's hard. I'm just gonna be honest. It is very easy to make mistakes. When you make mistakes, they are wildly punishing. So I thought, hey, Colin, you've been doing this kind of in a vacuum echo chamber. You're not talking to Team USA. You don't have a coach. You're not talking to other Eldar players. You're really kind of doing it yourself. Why don't you go see what other people have been doing to make them successful? And then I get distracted, and a whole day of 40K goes by. And during that day of 40K, I say, hey, this is really rough. I wish I had 1 or 2 more units. And my buddy on the other table goes, yeah, right, Eldar. And by the way, my friend who is here, this is something lots of people would do. I'm not picking you, you're just my example. And so he goes, and he huffs and haws about it. And I say, no, we're overcosted. And he says, no, Eldar can't possibly be overcosted. They're too good. Day ends. Colin goes and looks at tournament results. I go through every 2-day, 3-day tournament for the past 2 weekends, including Edmonton. How many Eldar players had better than a 500 record in all of the 2-day tournaments over the past two weekends, Noah?
I feel like the number has to be like 2 or something.
It's 1. It's 1. And he went 4-2. Great.
Is it a known name? Is it like this one is known?
No. Well, I mean, to me, but I don't know everybody, obviously. So, and I might have missed someone. You might come in and say, actually, Seer Council won this Austrian 28-person tournament, and that's fine, right? That's fine. I think that here's what's wrong with Eldar. Eldar is wildly fragile, and you have less models than your opponent basically all the time. You're playing against a Space Marine army where everybody's in power armor and they get +1 to armor save against the 1 damage. Doesn't matter. They have more guys than you. Now, that's not real. T-Sons don't actually get to have more guys than you, but it feels like it when you play against them. So you have the option in Eldar of, if you want hammers, like really brutal units in the current meta, you need big units, 10-man Fire Dragons, 10-man Banshees. You need big, heavy clobbering units. Those units with characters end up over 200 points. You're in an army where everything's fragile and you have to play the mission and you have to screen. You don't screen, you die. You don't play the mission, you die. And so what happens is you are playing this kind of high wire act where if you screw up, it's disastrous. Your Wave Serpent with the 10 Fire Dragons in it gets caught, done. In some matchups, the game's over. So I think that it's unfair, right? It's unfair. It's also fine. I will never complain when Eldar are not good enough, simply because they're too good too often. So like, it seems, since they were the best army in the game for like 18 years or whatever, it seems like it's unfair for me to be like, they're not good enough right now. So that's not what I'm doing, but I do think they're too hard to play. I do think they're not good right now, and I think that they're going to have a miserable problem into the meta. So that, I think Eldar, my favorite army, is in a really bad place. Now, my other favorite armies, I think Space Marines are in a good place. I think Gladius is just as strong as it's been, despite the fact that nobody talks about it. I think Stormlance is just as strong as it's been, despite nobody talking about it. So I think Marines are quite good. I think Drakari is absolutely awful. Reaper's Wager is like, what if you wanted to play Craft World Eldar, only worse? So that, like, I played against Drukari and a really, really experienced Drukari opponent, and the whole time we're like, why are my data sheets just better than yours? So like that's Drukari, right? I think GSC is very strong right now. I own them. So like there's lots of armies that I have that are okay, but my favorite army not okay. That's my bad.
I
Do you
agree.
agree?
Yeah. The I think Eldar are exactly like you said, right? I'm going to continue to like to put on. You know, okay, you and I both know as friends, I play weird shit.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes playing that weird shit wins me super majors. Sometimes it does not.
I'm here. I'm here, but I have to fix something. Keep talking.
Okay. So I play weird stuff. I've almost always played, for those who don't know me, I've almost always played things that were like good armies, but then had some weird stuff going on that most people would consider not good. And I was playing Green Tide well after everybody was like, Green Tide's bad. And I was playing it in a weird way that became a staple for like 6 or 7 months, where people were playing, if they're playing Green Tide, they were playing that list, right? So I'm saying that to say this, because I'm about to say something very weird. I think the Wraith detachment list that I've been talking about is still good, and I think it is good enough to do better than most of the other Eldar detachments right now because of the meta that we're in. The thing that it'll suffer from a little bit is that the people are bringing high damage stuff. Some places are bringing high damage stuff to kill knights, but the thing is they're bringing like high damage, much lower volume count to kill knights now. So for instance, like Tau players are experimenting with triple railgun, which is unreal.
You want to lose to everybody that's not knights? That's how you do it.
But here's why I think the Wraiths are good right now. I think that they have the survivability to stand up to a lot of things. Their mechanic in their list that allows +1 to wound against anything that kills one of your psychers basically means you can become Votan against knights.
Yeah, because
So
you eat psychers into them.
Yeah, so you pick like, because the list, like at least my build has like 5 or 6 expendable psyker units that aren't the characters that are taking care of your stuff.
Right.
And so when you say, "Oh, I need to kill that needs to die," you go, "Okay, cool. Go psyker on a bike, charge the knight."
Yeah, Warlock Skyrunner, you move 16 inches this turn. Go charge that guy.
Right, and then they kill him because they're going to kill him. Even if they had stompy legs and could not use their melee weapon, they'd still kill him. You're gonna kill him, then he's going to die, and then your entire army is +1 to wound against him, and then you have like Wraith Lords who step out and are like, "Hi, I reroll against vehicles. You're a vehicle, and I have
reroll ones, just so everybody's clear.
I have lances and I'm +1 to wound. You're T11. I wound you on 2s, 2 middle fingers. Let's go."
Yeah. Okay, so let's I want to talk more about the meta after we're done doing good, bad, and ugly, because that's really the topic, right? We're preparing for Tacoma Open. That's really the topic. So other bads, I think Drakari is bad. I think Drakari is an army that makes the game better. That's something I want to talk about with Knights. I think Drakari is an army that makes the game better because it usually plays in a different way than other people, so it being bad is not good. I'm just feeling that one this week because I looked at playing Reaper's Wager because it's really fun, and then I'm like, oh, this is frustrating. Even buffed, it's not as good as I want it to be. So Tom says Drakari are always bad, except for the year where they were the best army in the game for 12 months straight. Except for then.
Dark year.
Yeah, I played them in that. It's like, hey, what if I went 90 inches on the first turn?
I played against Thick City at LVO for my game that would have got me into like top 8 contention.
Yeah, I want to be clear, Dom. Noah and I are not exaggerating that they were the best army in the game for a year. Their win rate was in the 60s for the whole year.
I would say they were almost the best two armies.
Yeah, they were almost number one and number two. Eventually, Admech came out and could table you on turn one if they went first, and that was a problem for Drakari.
Played them.
So, yeah, you played that too. Okay, I don't have other bads other than there was no news for us to talk about this morning. On with the ugly. Oh no, I have another bad. The new challenger deck or the new deck.
Oh, it's terrible. Deck. It's so bad.
It's so bad. Let's put it in the ugly. All right, we're in the ugly now. The mission deck. Let's just take a minute. First of all, we have all these missions. What if we made like 5 of them and they were all the same? Tipping Point and Take and Hold are the same mission, and they're not significantly different from Scorched Earth and Terraform. Those 4 missions are Take and Hold with an action you can do on the objective. Literally all the same thing. Dark Ritual, that's an interesting mission. Gone. Football, fine, be gone. But you have almost no missions. There's no variety in them. There's no secondary thing trying to give them variety. Even all those cards were dumb and didn't do anything. And then you end up with the terrain, which I like the terrain changes mostly because it makes it feel new. Are they good? I don't know. I like that they're new. But the cards, while I like the secondary changes for the most part, recover assets being easier, stuff like that, is all great. Man, are the missions boring. Whew. And then we'll talk about challenger cards next. What do you think? What do you think of what I've said so far, Noah?
I agree. I think so. They tried to lean toward for like ignoring challenger cards. They leaned towards balance. So I would say the missions are definitely more balanced, right? The missions have less room for, oh, this thing happened and this is bad for me. So the missions I think are more balanced, but the thing that I always keep saying is the closer you get to balance, like true balance, the more boring some parts of the game will become. Mm-hmm. And so I think though Pariah was at a really good spot, and they could have just tweaked Pariah a little bit. Like they could have just fixed some of the things that were just obviously bad, like for instance, supply drop or whatever. Like they could have fixed a couple of like the little outliers, and that would have been, and the mission pack would have been amazing. But they went like too far, right? They completely removed the twist. The twist went completely crazy and went to narrative play with like 18-inch charges and weirdness now. And then they threw in this like mechanic that I think was supposed to be like fun and interesting and spicy in terms of like challenger deck, which we'll get to in a sec. And it was I just feel like I do like the missions in terms of like any one of those missions. If there wasn't any other missions, if I was just playing that mission, it would be fun. Okay. But the fact that there's no variety is very frustrating.
Yes, agree completely. The challenger cards are a terrible idea that's implemented poorly. So
a very cool idea that was implemented terribly.
Yeah. So first of all, I've played hundreds of competitive games of 40K. Noah has as well. Here is a thing that is simply a fact. Okay? This is a fact. 6-point difference on turns 1, 2, and 3 does not matter. It does not affect who's going to win. It does not say who's winning. It does not say who's got momentum. It simply says who's got 6 more points. Bottom of turn is massive, and we didn't need to make it bigger. Like on turn 5, a lot of the missions, you're like, okay, I got 20. Like there's a lot of, maybe it's only 15, but there's a lot of massive scoring going second. We don't need to make it easier for people to hang it behind you by 6, 7, 8 points and then get 15 on the final turn and win the game. We don't need that. Go ahead.
They also reduce the likelihood that you have like dead draw secondaries. They've upped it. I really like how they fix the secondaries. Let's be clear. We should go back to the good. We'll throw this up into the good area. Okay. The secondary deck is good. Like yes. Just legitimately, I think it's good.
Yeah. I never draw it and think, well, this was terrible, but yeah.
But it makes it worse, but it makes challenger cards worse that it's good.
Yeah.
Because you can be, let's say, 10 points behind, whatever, right? Or 10 points behind. you can draw 2 banger secondaries
Right.
and have a challenger card. That
Mhm.
challenger card could maybe have an ability thing that lets you fall back and shoot when you normally couldn't. And you can completely tip the game on its head or just score 3 extra points. And you have like a 13-point score. Like if you were down 6 and now you are up 7 and your opponent is not getting very much, is getting like, let's say 5 primary and you're going second, you are in a very good spot. You are
Well, there's the
doing
so
good.
here's the I mean, yes, I agree completely, Noah, and let me put that in a different way. So Noah and I are playing. I draw the 10-point first turn. Noah draws the 0-point first turn from secondaries. Okay? That's just the thing that can happen.
Mhm.
Even better. I draw 10, I get 10 points, Noah gets 4. Okay? So Noah draws the challenger card. The next turn, the exact opposite cards are drawn. I get 4, Noah gets 10. Noah also gets 3 from his challenger card. We have played 2 turns that have ended in a draw game, but Noah has 3 extra points for reasons. That's the thing that I'm seeing from it. I'm not seeing people even use the bottom half of the card, Noah, even though I acknowledge that some of them are really powerful. It's mostly just, oh hey, they give me 3 victory points for not doing anything. It's what a lot of the challenger cards do.
Most of the time, I think the stratagem doesn't matter.
Yes.
I've seen 3 absolute feel bad blowouts, not in games I've played, but in video, like in streamed games, when someone like the one that I think stands the most is fallback and shoot, right? The fallback shoot and charge strat,
Yeah.
like really like rips it and like there's like a knight who needs to go do something and like needs to go do something and it rips the strat and it's like, oh, cool. And just like the whole game was built on the fact that whole game was being built on the fact that like you could tap knights and keep them where they were going to be and slow down the momentum of the game. And it just goes out the window and this knight like runs over, shoots something to death, charges the other vehicle that's like keeping the knights honest, and literally picks up like both of its anti-tank shooting, flips the whole game, and just like puts the entire game into like just like the dumpster.
Yeah, that's certainly a thing. Like I haven't seen that happen, but it certainly makes sense.
No, but it happens very rarely. But
Yeah.
you could be playing your best game, be doing your best, and have the game well in hand, and be on round 5 of a super major where you're about to win a golden ticket, and that can happen. And you can lose the game.
Yep, that's true.
And I think that the problem is you can't plan for that at all. And
No,
in a game where like
random.
the worst thing I hate about it is actually the strats, is because you and I know what each other's strats are and what each other's rules are from the beginning of the game.
We're supposed to. That's what's fun.
But I don't know which strat you randomly get because I was up by 6 points. And that means that the game loses one of the qualities I like about 40K, which is it's an open book, right? Even like secret missions were like easy to identify what you're like. Most of the time,
Oh
there's only
man, I hated secret missions so bad.
but like secret missions were at least easy to like. Oh, I know what secret mission you took. Like that was pretty. It was very rarely a surprise.
Yeah. Okay. So in the ugly, I want to talk about knights. Now, I want to talk about knights first because Noah is going to be much more rational and much more productive. So here I go. This is I want to rant. I want permission. This is a safe space. I would like to rant. I would like to get worked up a little bit over knights. Is that okay, Noah? Would you allow that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to blow my nose first so that this is easy.
Well, cold blowing nose, I'm going to say that since we're only in like the week 2 or whatever of nights and the meta hasn't adapted yet, and we'll have Space Wolves next Saturday. I think that the current state of nights is going to change drastically in a week, but we'll give Colin his rant.
Okay. First of all, full disclaimer. Night models are cool. I wish we could see them in the game in a healthy way. Right? That's everybody can agree on that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is not the world we live in.
No.
Inherently. So I've got 2 problems with knights being really good. The first problem is they are whenever knights are good, they are inherently broken in the game to a degree that isn't fun for the vast majority of your opponents. The way that they make knights good is they make them shoot and punch redonkulously hard without being kept away from their opponent, or they make them undercosted, or sometimes they do both. And so what happens is they're always saying knights are good when you can't kill knights faster than they can kill you. Period. That's what GW says. That is a terrible and boring way to play 40K. The reason that happens is because the game is balanced around you having 30 to 250, no, from 30 to 100 150 models. That's where the game is built. It's obvious it's built that way. Blast, objectives, OC, models versus units versus individual models, all of that is built around you having stuff. When you play a knight army, they might just bring four. It used to be they might bring 4 big knights, Noah. That used to be the world we lived in. But I understand that's not the world we live in anymore. And so we're taking big knights and little knights and lots of all of them. And so what we're saying is, I've got these Tonka toys, and I'm going to march them across the table. We're not going to play 40K. We're just going to shoot at each other, and I'm going to OC5 some things, and I'm going to shoot you off the table, and it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. So what happens is you have this stat check that's existing, not the podcast, but the actual thing. You have this stat check that exists where you're saying, can you kill my knights fast enough? Now, there's play in that, right, Noah? There's playing smart to keep your knights alive longer. There's playing carefully. There's playing cagey. All that exists. But the question is still being asked, can my opponent kill my knights fast enough to beat me? I don't think that that's an inherently interesting way to play 40K. I don't think it's, of course I mentioned violence. I mention you guys all the damn time. You should mention me. That's how much I mention you.
We love violence.
Yeah, you should be telling everybody how great Colin is. That's the thing you should be doing. No, all joking aside, we do talk about stat check. So yeah, I think that they're just inherently wrong for the game. I think that they're bad for the same reason airplanes are bad, and 40K has figured out that airplanes are bad for the game, and so they've nerfed them all out of oblivion. Unfortunately, that's the solution for knights, the only one that I ever see healthy. So that's my first very, very biased opinion of knights. Second thing, when knights are really broken, everyone plays them. Everyone plays them. Lots of people own them. They're not hard to own. Surprisingly, buying the models at $100 bazillion a piece is cheaper than buying a normal army. So people have them. They're easy to play. There's not very many models. They're not physically taxing. So everybody takes them. When knights were really powerful last time, which was right before the Castellan that became the dominant list, Castellan plus Imperial Guard, when that was popular, I went to an RTT with 20 people and 12 of them had knights in their list. Then, a month later, I went to the Nova Open. In the top 16 people in the Nova Open, 9 of them had knights in their list. At the Tacoma Open, I am guessing, and like the knights were like some crazy amount of games that had knights in them. I wrote this down and then I don't have the notes in front of me and I don't want to get the number right, but it was a lot. It was like 25% of games included knights. Like it was crazy. So I think the problem of you can't balance them in a way that is fun for your opponent, combined with everyone has them and is going to play with them, is something that I'm really disappointed by, because what it's going to do is make a really miserable few weeks, and then everyone's going to pivot against knights, and the whole meta is going to be about killing knights, and that's not going to be fun either. So that's my rant, Noah. How'd I do?
I think you're great. I'm gonna just say I think it could be so much worse.
Which never makes me feel better. At least everyone in your family doesn't have butt cancer. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm glad everybody in my family doesn't have butt cancer. Go ahead.
I think there are builds of knights, and also I think there are players who, if they picked up knights, would make people's lives really painful. I watched a bunch of stream games with knights over the weekend. And of, I think, 5 or 6 stream games I played, I watched 4 of those players get all their rules wrong in ways that were detrimental. Rules that were bad for them. Like, they were actively playing with handicaps, and one of those knight players won their 50-plus person event. So I'm gonna say
I want to comment on what Dom just said, Noah, because and I just interrupted you and I didn't know. I thought that
fine.
was a period, not a comma. I
Fine.
just want to comment that he said because it's science fiction. Let me summarize. He thinks the game would be better if people had planes and knights. I actually don't disagree. I think that if we had them in the game in a healthy way, it'd be really neat. I think that warfare involves planes for a reason. I think warfare involves artillery for a reason. Artillery, also not really in the game right now, also a thing that matters significantly for military strategy. Back to Noah.
Oh, Dom is a she, by the way.
Oh, I apologize, Dom. That was really rude of me. I should not presume that, even if it is the 40K world. Apologize. Okay, moving on.
This is a reason that I default very strongly to they and y'all, or using people's names.
I'm trying really hard.
You
I
do.
mean, just as a side thing, like especially I have a lot of friends, younger friends that are on, lots of different gender identities and things, and it's I want to understand it, and I ask lots of questions. It's also very hard with the speed at which I speak to adjust your pronoun. So I'm trying really hard to get good at that because my brain spits words out at a speed that's kind of like vomiting words. And so I have to it's hard for me sometimes to like removing retarded from my from my vocabulary has been brutal. It is a terrible word that I should not be using, but I am literally from the 80s, folks. Like we used it in the 90s. We used that word like every other word, like it was everywhere all the time. Anyways, I digress. Back to Noah. Night's
Yeah,
gone.
every now and then putting a movie on from the 90s has some like unpleasant surprises.
Yeah. If you watch Wayne's World with your kids, it's hilarious how much of Wayne's World is just common pop culture that they'll be like, this is lame. I know all this stuff. And it's like, no, you don't understand. It's all from this movie. No, this is all lame. I know all these things. Okay, back to the topic.
um, so uh, this happened. This has happened every time nights are good. Is that a bunch of people picks up nights, and they kind of auto simplified in their head that like nights are nights, and they take them to events and they shove their stat check down people's throats, but they almost always get misplayed heavily on both sides of the coin. I watched a couple games. I've seen some games where people were playing their rules too permissive. A lot of people still think knights can fall back, shoot, and charge. They cannot. I saw top players think this, right? Like, and then a lot of other people
That's
also
not just the Titanic rule.
no. The Titanic rule is that I can walk over things I can walk through walls. The Titanic, the super heavy walker rule, which is the rule that always gave them the things before. Titanic itself has no rules. Like Titanic just is just a word. Towering gives you access to put your toe in a thing and see through the wall, like see through true line of sight. But Titanic itself doesn't really give you anything meaningful. What matters is being a vehicle, so you can shoot in and out of combat with non-blast weapons. And the super heavy walker rule used to let you fall back, shoot, and charge. Well, Titanic used to let you fall back and shoot. Super heavy walker let you also charge. Those are not the cases anymore. You can't fall back, shoot, and charge with knights. A lot of people still think you can. A lot of people get the profiles wrong for like the Atropos gun and Canis's gun because they're very similar, but the Atropos' gun is sustained without blast, and and Canis's gun is sustained with blast. So there's there's a lot of rules that people are getting wrong, and it's pretty painful to watch someone win an event while like getting very important rules incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to see a lot of that at like Tacoma Open. We're going to have a lot of night players who are like mid-table players who haven't read their rules, and then we're going to have a couple players who are really good players who did not read their rules well enough, who are going to be kicking people's butts, and we're going to get like we're in the shadow round and you've been playing your army wrong for the last 7 rounds.
So for those of us that are tryhards that are preparing for Tacoma Open, I should read all the night rules, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us what are the detachments we need to study? Because it's not all of them.
No. There are in Chaos Knights, all 5 detachments in Chaos Knights can win an event.
Okay, good.
You are likely
multiple times you've gone through what they all do. So just to remind you.
There are 5 ones that are, and they're all good. In order of like current popularity, you have Lords of Dread, which is I play lots of big knights, and the most important thing it does is be good at the mirror against other knights and Sticky's objectives at 5OC, which is a broken stratagem that should not be that way.
Agreed.
The second thing is Infernal. Infernal is the Chaos Knights attachment that says I can take a leadership test and get a token, and then during one of the phases of the game, I can spend that token for a buff. +3 movement, sustained or lethal in either shooting or fight phase, a 5-up invulnerable, and with a 6-up feel no pain. Right? That is probably one of the most well-rounded of the detachments, and it's the one that has a lot of really high damage output potential. Then you have Traitorous Lance, which is I think the third most popular, which is like essentially it's the index detachment. So go through walls, lots of leadership shenanigans, those kind of things.
Okay. And then for Imperial Knights, what are the ones?
And then for Imperial Knights, there is one.
Oh, okay. Well, that's easier.
There are 2. I have opinions about the other one that there are that it can be good. The one that everyone is playing, the only one you will probably see, unless maybe I bring the other one and you play against me, is Noble.
Unless Noah snowflakes and you run into him.
Yeah. So I'll give you this. So Noble Lance is I get a 6-up feel no pain all the time. If I become honored, I get a 5-up feel no pain. And it has a bunch of great strats that make its AP better, strats that make it plus to wound against monsters and vehicles, strats that make it single knight stats better for a turn. It just has great strats, and it has it has high damage output, has support for every model in the book, so it has little knight support, big knight support. It has a great detachment rule, and it basically makes the fact that they got more wounds, it like amplifies the fact that they got more wounds.
Yeah,
like it makes that better because they have a feel of pain. The other one is like Knights and AdMech. That's its rule. Like you can take AdMech, you can take 500 points of AdMech as an ally, and its rules are all kind of mediocre. There's a couple things that are kind of cool where it can give itself more wounds. The big thing is it regens every turn. But what this detachment does that can catch people out is it has a Overwatch strat for a big knight that lets it pick one gun and Overwatch with that gun, except the word Overwatch never appears in that stratagem. So if you're an Eldar player and you turn off Overwatch, it doesn't fucking matter. You lose your whole unit to a 3d6 flame. Yeah, so that detachment is only good if the Valiant is good enough, and there are things that are good enough that are currently doing very well in the meta that ignore Overwatch. So that is like an interesting thing, but you're going to see Noble Lance. Everyone's going to play Noble Lance, and most people are going to play 2 Lancers right now because Lancers are really great bully units that sometimes just never die because of a 4-people. They're the largest.
With the flamer.
No, Valiant.
Okay.
Lancer is the one with a stick.
So
He's got a stick and a shield. Yeah, a stick and a shield. They move 14 inches. They have a 4-up invul all the time, and most people are running at least 1, if not 2, to be bullies. The other knight you'll see a lot is a Notropus because it shores up the mirror match because it gets plus against monsters and vehicles and some Titanic stuff. You're going to see Canis Rex in like every single Noble Lance list, basically ever, because he's really, 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 really good. I don't like playing him, but he is
really good.
Really, really good. And then
really, really good.
You're going to see probably that's it. You'll in Chaos Knights, you're going to see double Gatling Despoilers, which is like 40 plus shots out of a knight. At AP 2 damage 2, so that's really good. And you're going to occasionally see a Castellan, which I don't agree with, but Castellan is the one with the really big guns. And so Germany actually nerfed. So this is interesting. Germany actually nerfed knights for all of its events upcoming right now until they get a thing. Like a bunch of the major events in their circuit. You can't take more than 3 big knights in any list. and you cannot take more than a single of each of the Cerastus chassis. So that's the Lancer, the Atropos, the Archeon, the Castigator. The long-legged ones. So Germany has that currently imposed. So I don't think that's actually the way to fix it. I think they're still just going to have the same amount of win rate, basically. I don't think that's actually going to fix anything.
You don't just get to
decide. But,
yeah.
Tournament organizers be tournament organizers.
Yeah, that's true. All right, we have 15 minutes of Noah time left, and then we have 15 minutes of Colin if he wants to stay and keep talking. So I want to share some thoughts. I want to share a brief thought about detachment comparisons. And I want to use an Eldar example, and I'm wondering if Noah will have an example as well. Okay, so the story is, what are people doing versus what's the right decision for you? So what I'm seeing is that more people are playing Aspect Host than War Host in Eldar. Aspects, you get to reroll once to hit or wound, you decide on the activation, it only works on Aspect Warriors. And then they have 6 strats, like 2 or 3 of them are good. That's their army. Okay? I'm playing War Host, which doesn't have the rerolls, and it doesn't have the same level of aggressive shooting strat that Aspect Host has. And so a dude from the internet came to me and said, hey, I'm enjoying Competitive Advantage. I said, thank you so much. You must be one of the 4 people that watch us. No, all joking aside, I was very complimentary. And they said, I'm playing Aspects and I don't understand why you think Warhost is better. So I thought, well, rather than giving you the off the cuff, I'm going to go analyze it and come back. So I went and thought about it and I came back. And here's the interesting thing. The first part of Warhost is that the battle focus things that Eldar do are all 1 inch farther. So D6 1+1 becomes D6 +2. The +2 inches of movement becomes +3 inches of movement. That extra inch matters quite a lot. No one should have to understand why that is. It's an inch closer on charging. But what I really think is interesting on this is the fact that D6 is terrible. If your gun shoots D6 shots, it's probably bad. If your reactive move is D6 inches, it's probably not going to work. D6 +1 is an Eldar army mechanic where the army is balanced around getting to do those reactive moves to stop it from getting tabled, and you might just roll bad. So the +1 inch on those rolls, now that I've played a bunch of Warhost, it feels like you see it. Like you see it, it is obvious. That extra inch gets you behind the wall. That extra inch gets most of your unit out. Like, it matters, okay? And so you say, okay, well, I think the Warhost + inches is a big deal. And they say, okay, but Eldar's main problem is, one of Eldar's problems is, because they don't have a ton of rerolls, they might have a turn where they just don't work. We've seen this, Noah. We saw this when we played Greentide. I was like, oh, I rolled under average. I guess we don't get to have a game. Because in Greentide, I had to math you exactly, right? Mm-hmm. So, and what's interesting is, if you actually look at where the reroll 1s exist, it's not that big of a deal. First of all, Dark Reapers are trash. I don't take them, so I don't care if they reroll 1s to hit and wound. That's the first thing for me. Even rerolling 1s to hit and wound, I don't think that they're worth it. The rest of the things I take Wind Riders. They already reroll things. They wouldn't reroll things. They don't care. They're not an aspect. Exarchs, or Autarchs rather. I use Autarchs. They don't get to reroll. If you have an Autarch in an Aspect Warrior unit and you're rerolling 1s to hit on them, as far as I know, you're cheating. Because they do not have the Aspect Warrior code word. Super secret code word, Noah. And so you end up with this situation where you look at your army list and you say, well, the Warp Spiders care. I just did the math. On average number of shots against T4, it's 1 more wound roll. So like reroll 1s to wound is cool and it might spike, but on average, it's not that significant. So then you say, okay, well, if I say that reroll 1s to hit or wound is not as good as the extra inches on Warhost, then what's the other thing to compare? The enhancements. Okay, there's some good enhancements on both sides. I don't know that I would take really much of either of them. So then you look at the stratagems. The stratagems in Warhost are fire. They have 6 good stratagems that you might use in a game. Aspect Host has 3. Aspect Host says, get back in a transport. Warhost says, That's rookie numbers. I have 2 of those. Right? Like Seer Council says, I have teleport. I have teleport. And Warhost says, yeah, I have uppy downy. It's not teleport, but it's also really good. So it's interesting because what you have is the army that math says is the best army, people think. Then you have the army where you take out the units that you take, like I play with Banshees, a lot of them. They have 2s. I'd love to reroll 1s on them, but it's not worth it. I play with Warp Spiders, 1 wound difference, don't care. I play with Wind Riders, they're going to reroll themselves. I play with Fire Dragons, shoot them at the correct target, they get rerolls to hit wound and damage. Like you can play into the rerolls without playing Aspect Host. So that's how I feel about why I would play. Well, I'm probably going to take Warhost to Tacoma over Aspect Host, is because while I don't get a little bit more efficiency from the rerolls, instead I get a massive toolkit where I can outplay my opponent. And the best shot I have with people not really playing Eldar is to play something somewhat counter meta Eldar wise and catch people's prep off guard. Beat the people that are prepared to kill knights, right? Beat the Chaos Marine heavy armories. That's the stuff I have to focus on. So Noah, the reason I wanted to include that in the 15 minutes is I think that that is an incredibly Noah topic. Am I not wrong?
It is. I have.
Am I not wrong? Yes.
You're right.
Thank you.
So I've talked about this a lot. This is go back to like previous editions playing nights. There was everyone played Noble. Everyone played the Freeblade Lance, which was like the right math. Right, it had the good math. And I played Raven, which its only ability was advance and shoot. I won a lot of stuff with Raven because on the layouts that they were using at the time, getting that extra movement meant that you could be putting shots on your opponent on turn 1, or they weren't going to be able to hide. And so there was a many week stand where like Raven, where like I was one of like 1 or 3 Raven players, and I was propping up like the whole subfaction. It's true now too, but not in detachment ways. Like if you look at Knights, when you start the game playing Knights, you get to pick 1 of 2 oaths to swear. The plus movement oath or the reroll oath. Most people don't know that because almost no one ever takes the movement oath. A lot of people think that the Knights rule is just pocket rerolls for hit and wound, right? That's not actually their army rule. Their army rule is that, or +1 move, advance, and charge. Mm-hmm. I almost never take the reroll one when I play Knights. I almost always take +1 move, advance, and charge, because that 1 inch matters. 1 inch matters when you're cornering walls. When you uppy downy a knight, like they have the uppy downy enhancement you can put on a knight, you can get an 8-inch charge with the CP. It's rerollable. An 8-inch rerollable, I'll tell you, as an orc player who played 8-inch rerollable charges a lot in Green Tide, 8-inch rerollable is a very reliable charge.
No, it is not. He is lying to you, gentlemen. He's lying to you folks. I played 7-inch rerollables in GSC, and they're like 70%. So he's wrong.
It's reliable enough that it's a move that you will make sometimes when you have the shot, for sure.
I'm asking ChatGPT to give us the math. No, I'm not. I'm not going to get that level of distracted.
So I do think that like the thing that it comes down to is I always talk about their capability builds and math builds.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time people will innately build for math because that is the easiest way to perceive good. The easiest way to perceive good is I table you, I don't die. Good. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There are Star Shatter's an outstanding example. Star Shatter was originally looked at as I table you, I'm good. Then when it became less, I'm table you, I'm good, less people played it. It has some really incredibly powerful capabilities, right? It has the reactive move after you shoot on a vehicle is very, very good.
It's on anything. It's on anything, Noah. They've changed it.
I know. Reanimating at the end of the fight phase is incredibly good, right? These are very good things, right? And so sometimes capability is the actual like or advancing and shooting with your whole army is very, very good. So sometimes capability is important. The reason Emperor's Children is good is because of capability, not math. They have decent math for like dealing damage, but the reason Emperor's Children is good is because the entire army defies the basic rules of 40k. It's the same reason that Harlequins used to be good. At one point, Harlequins were really, really good because they always fell back, shot and charged, and they always advanced and shot and charged. Always. You're on mute. I cannot hear you. We lost Colin. Can anyone hear Colin? Yeah, I'm going to address beginner dude while Colin figures out volume. Playstyle is a contentious topic in the world. The wonderful people at StatCheck will tell you that playstyle is not a real thing. But what I'll say is that playstyle is just an expression of like what you are most comfortable with. There are some mechanics in games and some ways that happens in games that like things happen in games that are just work better with certain people's brains. Some people are and also things you enjoy more. Things you enjoy tend to be things you focus on more. So the things you get better at. So playstyle is really most of the time an expression of like where in 40k you most readily and easily consume and excel at the rules. Yeah. It's not necessarily where I think you would naturally think like playstyle would be like, this is the way I play. It's the way you play because that might be where your capabilities are. And so you will kind of naturally bias into those things. There are, because it's a math game and because it has predictable movements and other things, you can say XYZ thing is the ideal way to play. That's true. But not everybody is like a John Lennon who can play nearly everything to the ideal way, right? Because you're not a John Lennon and you cannot play everything to the ideal way, playstyle will exist for you. So what I'll say about finding your playstyle is find the thing you most enjoy doing in 40K and spend a lot of time doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Vanilla is a great example of this. Vanilla is good. Vanilla can play shooting and whatever, and violence. He can play whatever list he wants. He's great. He is considered one of the probably the best melee players in the world, and he plays almost expressly melee pressure armies. Yep. He likes to punch you in the face. That's what he likes to do. And because of that, he got incredibly good at that. He got probably better at that before he got better at like other parts of the game. Right. Now he's played so much 40K and he's such a top level player that he can probably play all of the levels of 40K at a very, very high level no matter what. But he still likes to specifically play things like World Eaters and melee pressure armies.
Right.
So find the thing you love, find an army that does that thing, and play that as much as you can to become as good at it as you possibly can. Right. Melee combat tends to be a place where people get lost because the fight phase, the charge / fight phase, is the most complex phase of the game. And it is the one that has the highest likelihood for skill expression, in my personal opinion, and also the highest likelihood to get one of the rules wrong while you're doing it.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with everything you just said. I think that that's all spot on. I think that I played double Spear Yunari, double Gene Stealer Swarmlord, and in 8th, and then I played White Scars at the beginning of 9th. Now, this is very inside baseball. Like, almost no one's going to know what I mean here, but those 3 armies are the same army. Like, actually, not the White Scars, the Demacarons. Sorry, the Demacarons, not the White Scars. I had it wrong in my brain.
You like to play, I have 2 incredibly powerful tools that will win me the whole game.
No. All three armies have a ridiculously fast close combat threat that you have to plan on dealing with. And they have multiple of them. Like silly. Like the Demacarons went like 36 inches and ignored walls and enemy units. Wow. Hive Guard. Dark Reapers, um, and then Hive Guard again. Shoot from back. I also played a GSC army where I had 3 Lehman Russes in my deployment zone, and GSC dropped on you from all around and tried to do things to you. I really like having a reliable shooting base with fast threats that I can attack you with at different spots. I like to make my opponent, this is a thing that is very true for me. I like to make my opponent have to respond to me rather than me responding to them. That's my preference for how to play 40K. I want to be the aggressor, but I don't want to do it in a unga bunga all in way. I want to say, my army is really difficult to deal with. You have to worry about that from the moment you start moving things.
I'm kind of the opposite way. I like to respond to my opponent. I like to play the control game where like I counter my opponent's moves. I think that's one of the reasons I've lost to you a lot in my career because you want me to respond to you, and you are expecting that, and you're better at that, and I'm wanting to respond to you, and so I'm doing what you want me to do.
Well, and because the reality is, people. So when you walk up to the table as an Eldar player, everybody wants to tell you the stats of all of their guns. Oh, and I have reroll hits to wounds, and I have +2 to wound, and I have +1 to hit, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm either going to roll invuls or I'm not. If I give you a unit to shoot, you can bet that I'm comfortable with that unit not being alive anymore. So like, it's just the way that you play, right? If I throw a 10-man Banshee unit into Noah on turn 1 with an Autarch in it, I don't expect that unit to live, but I'm going to kill something of value, and then he's going to spend his time dealing with it. That's what the Gene Stealers were. That's what the Shining Spears would have been if they hadn't just left and hidden after they fight. And that's what the Demon Carons did.
I think we're circling a very good point going into a night meta, is that the meta is going to shift drastically around the existence of knights. It's like they're the rock in the middle of the river. McDougal, right? One of the best Tyranid players
in the world,
best
yes.
player in the world, right? He is so good at GSC and those things because he knows literally everything about his codex and how his codex interacts with you in and out. He's just seen every potential scenario and understands all of his damage outputs, how his resistance is, those kind of things. Very similar to what you just said about like, I know that if I present something, it is going to die, right? So you understand what the trait is better than potentially your opponent does.
For sure.
So going into this meta, there's going to be a lot of, I think, people shifting into like anti-tank, people going and playing knights, people saying, hey, this is the best army, go play this. I would highly suggest you to instead look at what you are most comfortable with, what you understand the most, right? I made the mistake one year of taking to World Champs an army I did not understand in a style that I was not good at because I wanted to hobby it and everyone told me it was the best. And I did terribly. And so going into this meta, it's going to be very tempting for you to bring to change up very drastically. And while adapting to the meta is fine, I would say, my first thing, like right now, I don't want to take knights or orcs to come open. I would like to play Votann. That is like literally the truth. I want to take Votann to come open. I have no way to get enough reps in. I have the army sitting on my shelf. I have no way to get enough reps in hobbying for it to go and play in the way that I would like to play, which is very comfortable with my army, with a good-looking army. I have no way to do that, so I can't. Right? But I don't want to play knights or orcs. I happen to have 9 trillion reps with both of them over the course of my career. And so I can play either of those very comfortably and feel very strongly that I'm doing it right. So that's what I have to play at Tacoma.
Yeah, because you don't want to get a bunch of rolls wrong because you're busy with a new job and you don't have reps and everything else. Completely.
Right. I can pick up, I could go, I honestly think I could go 9 years not playing 40K, read the rules, pick up knights, and do fine. Right? Like, I think that's the truth.
That's great. So, okay. Do you need to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and go. Noah, thank you so much for the time that you were able to spend with us. We will be back next week to talk about our preparation in more detail for the Tacoma Open and what we expect the
We'll have games then.
Yeah, and I'm going to stay and I'm going to talk about something really interesting that I'm going to talk about once Noah has left.
Next week, I will have free-handed like 4 banners for this, or 5 banners for this Knights Commission and we'll also show off a little bit of my adventure, not being good at freehand and trying to get good at freehand. So
Right.
talk to you.
Oh,
Cool.
so I'm going to complain about I'm going to complain about Phoenix Lords. So you can miss that.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. All right. Bye, Noah. Just a random additional thought I wanted to share with people as I'm back on Eldar and I'm list designing and I'm doing all this stuff. So the way that I play Eldar is when I'm looking at the tools, I look at what it does and what its cost is and what's something else that could do its job for that cost. And it's hilarious to me that people are playing with the Phoenix Lords. I think Jane Czar is the most arguable one because she gives auto 6 advance. She hits really well, and she's like 105 points or something. And I just want to be clear, all the Phoenix Lords are good for the most part. Moggan Raw's terrible, but for some reason that's a rule of 40k. He has to be terrible all the time. They're all very expensive. They're really, Lycus is like 145 points. That is a lot of points. That's almost 6 Wind Riders, and they'll outperform Lycus every game, in my opinion. So looking at Jane Czar, who's the least expensive one, and she's 110 points, Autarks are 85. So an Autark is, I think she's 105, 110. So like 20, 25 points cheaper. They don't hit as well. They just don't. They don't hit as well. They don't, or excuse me, the Autark doesn't hit as well as Jane Czar. However, the Autark has AP 3 damage. Jane Czar does not. The Autark in a Banshee unit makes it so that you have 7 attacks at strength 3, AP 3 damage between the Exarch and the Autark, and the Autark can use the Shrine rerolls, the Shrine 6s, so you have 7 attacks on strength 6, AP 3 damage, and you can auto wound on 2 of them. I have twice now I play with a 10-man Banshee unit and an Autark. I have twice now had a Norn emissary charge in and had the Banshees with the 6s kill it before it gets to go. Here, take 6 AP3s for 3. Oh, you passed one of them, you're dead. So that's what I think that you have to think about, is that Autark in my list is doing more work than Jane Czar would be doing with her 2 damage attacks, 8 2 damage attacks. I'd rather have the 4 3 damage attacks, right? The other part of that is, oh, well, Jane Czar makes them go 6. Yes, but the Autark gets a free CP use and gets to reroll advances, which is very similar to advancing 6. It's not as good, but it's very similar. And finally, sorry. Oh, yes. And you get to reroll battle focus reactions, which Jane Czar doesn't know anything about. So in my opinion, the Autark is a better model and also happens to be cheaper. Unfortunately, Moggan Raw is not worth having 5 more fire dragons, and he's much more expensive than 5 more fire dragons. Moggan Raw is terrible, so we don't need to talk about him. Karandris is gone. Oh, you want to talk overly expensive? Look at Azerman. Dire Avengers are too expensive for Strength 4 AP1 shooting that doesn't ignore cover. Strength 4 AP1 shooting that doesn't ignore cover is in my opinion, is really, really bad right now. Thousand Suns are going to laugh so hard at Dire Avengers. You put Azerman with them, sure, Azerman's really good on activation. Azerman's like 375 points. He's not really, but that's what it feels like every time I try to add him to the army. So I think the Phoenix Lords are wildly overpriced. That's interesting because I think they tried to make them playable. They gave them strong rules. They made them make their units better. Like, they did smart things with them, but I just don't think that they're worth the comparison. And I thought people might think that that's an interesting comparison I was making. Similarly, I really like playing with the 10 Guardians or Storm Guardians, depends on what you like, and a Farseer and 4 Warlocks that I cannot be downing. It's really fun because it lands and it goes, hey, take 46 plus 8, strength 7, AP 1 damages, and then take a bunch of Shuriken and then have a Bright Lance that just can get 6s. Like, I love it. It's so good. I love the Smite on the Farseer. I love the whole thing. Because that unit is AP 1 and I don't have access to ignore cover, I have to really consider whether it's worth it. So I want to welcome, I don't know, is it Jind? I don't know how to say your first name, but welcome from Vancouver. I will be at the Tacoma Open. Noah, who was just here and had to leave early, he'll be at the Tacoma Open, so you can come say hi. We're going to be talking about the Tacoma Open a lot over the next few weeks. You're going to want to check us out. Go ahead and like and subscribe, just like everybody else is already doing, right? Okay, so final couple updates, one of which is that I am not going to talk over the next few weeks in detail about my Eldar list and how to beat it. I usually do going into a tournament because my cockiness is usually unmitigated. In this particular case, I think Eldar are in a rough spot, and I'm actually finding it frustrating when I'm making mistakes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about general things I think about in Eldar, because that's what I do. So I talked about what I'm picking, what detachment I want to play. I talked about comparison units. I really think that I'm sorry guys, I'm really struggling with my brain's really wandering right now. It wants to tell you guys all the things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep the army, and I'm going to take it to the Tacoma Open, and then I will do an Eldar show. I'll grab an Eldar friend who's an expert in Eldar, and we'll talk Eldar for like an hour and a half. I'll talk about my list, what it did, how it works, what counters it, all the stuff that you want to know, but I'm not going to do it beforehand because I really want to do well and have a great time. So, and me struggling against people that have heard on the podcast how to beat me is a vibe I know about, and I don't love it. So, we are going to do that. So I'm going to talk about Eldar afterwards. I am going to try Noah's Wraithless this week to see if I think it's as strong as Noah says it is. So that should be really fun, and I'll report on that as well. Yes, Jin, we complained about Knights for like a third of the episode. So if you want to go back and watch from the beginning, you'll get some enjoyment from that. Okay, everybody, I'm still on mini hiatus while I fix my life into a stability where I can focus full-time on content. I'm going to do some more editing this week. I almost have the game show edited. I wanted to get it out like a month ago now. It's a lot of editing work, and it's just there's a lot going on. So still trying to get that ready to go out. The first 3 episodes of 40K Lore Crash Course are still up. I love it if you guys watched and gave us feedback on that. I've got the 4th episode about ready to go on that. So we're making stuff, and it's going great. And I hope that you all are enjoying. So what we're going to do now is we're going to end the show. So thank you, everyone. He's Noah Badome. I'm Colin because somebody has to be, and we'll be back with you next week. Thank you for joining us for Competitive Advantage. Here is a little bit about our network. With one more click. Bye. Hi, I really hope you're enjoying our content. For 20 years, I pushed through an exciting career in enterprise software sales. While I had quite a bit of success and fun, I watched as my interest and drive slowly fell away. Since I was 8 years old, I've wanted to entertain. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep creating and tweaking 40K web shows until I land on the combination that the community just can't get enough of. It's an exciting journey, and I'm sincerely having the best time. But I can't do it alone. Would you like to help make my journey easier? Well, there's several ways to do that. First of all, I know that you're told all day long to like and subscribe. That's because it really does help. Please do the thing. Next, you can sign up for our Patreon. We have several levels that might work for you. First, just simple Discord access. For nearly a decade, we've run one of the most positive and helpful spaces in all of 40K. Come find out for yourself. That tier also gets our help finding TTS opponents and can join in on our 2 or more private stream games every week that we do only for our patrons. Up a tier, you'll get all our past recordings of our private stream games. You'll have access to the memes, graphics, and presentations we use on our shows. We have a fantasy football league. We have other leagues. We have a weekly TTS drawing to pair you up with your favorite content producer for a game. And you know what else? If you're all in on this journey and you want to do whatever you can, there's a tier for that as well. Thank you and enjoy the show.